Hey there, I'm Tucker, this is D&D Daily, and today I wanted to talk about a new character build that I've been working on called the Arcane Tank. The Arcane Tank is a fighter wizard multiclass. You start out with 1 level in fighter, and then you pick up 5 levels in wizard, then you take a couple more in fighter to get the Psi Warrior subclass, and then you finish off a wizard. Our wizard subclass is going to be the School of Abjuration. Our race is also going to be the Mark of Warding Dwarf. Like most dwarves that are born with the Mark of Warding, protecting things was very important to the Arcane Tank. However, most Mark of Warding dwarves are focused on protecting objects or doors or rooms or secrets or things like this. However, the Arcane Tank was much more intrigued with protecting people. This motivation led the Arcane Tank into the School of Abjuration and led him into quitting the School of Abjuration to go and protect people in the real world rather than just learning about how to do it. In combat, the Arcane Tank is in fact a tank like you might have guessed, and he does this by having a high constitution, high AC, and high HP for a wizard, which is pretty unusual for a wizard. First, Arcane is going to be high because it's our second most important stat, unlike other normal wizard builds, which Dex is more important. Our levels in fighter also give us that HP boost as well, and we also get the second wind feature from that first level in fighter, which allows us to heal in or out of combat, making us a little bit more tanky all around. The next bump we get is from our heavy armor. Keep in mind you have to take that first level in fighter in order to get this heavy armor proficiency, so we're going to want to do that. We also get proficiency in shields from that first level in fighter, which if we have plate armor is going to put us right at a 20 AC, and from our first level in fighter we get the defensive fighting style, which puts us up at 21. This is going to be a very high AC for any character, but especially for a wizard because their AC is usually not very good. Also keep in mind, as a dwarf we get to ignore the strength requirement for our heavy armor, meaning we don't have to have a minimum of 15 strength to wear plate. We can just put whatever we want into strength and let it be there. This is going to be really great because with the way we want our stats, 15 in strength might not be doable. It might come up, it might not. It just depends how you're doing your stats. We also get a lot of extra HP and a lot of extra tankiness from our Arcane Ward feature from our School of Abjuration subclass. This just essentially gives us a stack of HP on top of our normal HP that shields us from those attacks. So it is not going to be a ton right off the bat, but it is going to start getting there more and more each level. In combat, we're going to be an up-close Gish mage, and we're going to want to stay in the middle of combat, having our allies all within 30 feet of us. A lot of our features that help us tank for our team, they need to be within 30 feet of us. This is going to be our projected arcane ward as well as our psionic shield from our Psi Warrior subclass. Both of these we need to be close to our allies, and it's going to help us tank for them quite a bit. The weapon we're also going to use is the arcane focus of a staff.
A stick. A stick?
What we particularly want from this weapon is that it is both an arcane focus and a quarterstaff, meaning that we can cast spells while both our hands are full with this arcane focus and our shield, and we still have a weapon. This is going to be really great for this Gish type of playstyle. So our main strategy in combat is going to be go up in the middle of combat with our high HP, all of our tanky options, and tank for our allies. The main spell we're going to use is Armor of Agathis. This gives us a buff of temp HP underneath our arcane ward, which is important, which damages our enemies when they hit us within melee distance. Now this also procs when they hit our arcane ward, and this is going to make our Armor of Agathis ability just that much better because it lasts that much longer, which is usually the big weakness with Armor of Agathis, is that it doesn't last very long. So having it last that much longer is going to be huge for us. And then once we get our Armor of Agathis off, we're going to spend one more turn doing another big concentration spell, whatever that is, essentially in order to win the fight, and we're just waiting for it to end. Something like a Hypnotic Pattern could do this very well, that just incapacitates a ton of enemies, but the wizard spell list is so big that there's a ton of options on there. You just have to pick one of them that's going to be a big fight-winning concentration spell and just yeet it off there as soon as you can, pretty much. And then after that, we're going to use our Booming Blade cantrip in order to deal big damage in that melee range.
That's a lot of damage!
Out of combat, we are going to be a utility machine, mainly because of our wizard abilities to ritual cast spells and the wizard's massive spell list. This is going to make us very good at utility, and we're just going to be able to do that all day. We can also use our Psi Warrior's telekinetic movement using our psionic energy die to move our allies out of combat in order to get better positioning and just kind of put people where we want to or reach those hard to reach spots. We are also going to be fairly strong, like our strength score is going to be fairly high, meaning we can do the strong things even though we might not be the absolute best at them. We're also going to be really good at a bunch of skills using our intelligence, so we can be a little bit of a skill monkey in that regard. In between combats, we're also going to want to make sure to ritual cast the alarm spell a lot in order to refresh our arcane ward. This is the one spell that I think we have to take, is that alarm spell. Though it's not as efficient as something like the Svirfneblin magic casting non-detection as a cantrip, ritual casting alarm is going to be a way to keep recharging that ward for free that we can take advantage of. However, this is definitely an in-between combat type of move. The key mechanics for this character is that intelligence is our most important stat. It's going to be all of our spell attacks and spell DCs, so that is going to be our most important. Second is constitution. Constitution is going to make us tanky, and that's what we're going for, so that's going to be our second stat. Third is strength. We want strength to be high so that we can hit with our booming blade attacks, and just so we can be a little bit more well-rounded, and because we don't really need any other stats. Strength is just kind of the way to go. And if you have any extra points or you have a 4 stat that you can raise up above like a negative, I'd put it into wisdom, just because wisdom saving throws are really debilitating and we don't have anything to counter that. We don't have wisdom saving throw proficiency or anything like that, so that would be a good way to go. When you reach a level that has an ASI, ASIs are great, especially for this guy to get your intelligence and your con up. If you want to take a half feat to even out some of those scores, Shadow Touched and Fey Touched are always amazing, as well as something like Skill Expert if there's one skill that you want to be really great at. And for full feats, the main one that stands out to me is Warcaster. The one thing we don't need from Warcaster is the ability to cast spells while both our hands are full. Because we have the Arcane Focus as our weapon as well, we can do that, so we don't really need that specific feature. However, the other 2 features of it are great. Advantage on concentration checks is going to be literally a lifesaver in so many situations. It is so good. And the ability to reaction cast cantrips, so reaction booming blade, is also going to be a huge ability that is just going to make our combat potential that much better. The caveat to that is we are going to be using our reaction a lot to help tank for our enemies, so doing a reaction opportunity attack might not be the best call. The other thing to note about our key mechanics is that our levels in Psy Warrior give us a psionic energy die. This psionic energy die becomes bigger dies as we take more levels in the fighter class. However, we get more of these dies based on our proficiency bonus, meaning even as we level up normally, not as a fighter, we still get more of these dies, which makes us more effective in what we're going to be doing, which is an amazing feature. So make sure to keep track of those psionic energy dies and how many you have at what level. The weaknesses of this character start out that he is going to get his big spells a little bit later than other wizards. I recommend that you take 1 level in fighter to get all those stuff you need, and then take 5 levels in wizard. This is going to keep you caught up because 3rd level spells are really a peak for a lot of spellcasters, and wizards are included. Having those 3rd level spells will keep you on a similar playing field to other casters, even though you're taking other levels in fighter that won't advance your spell progression. But being at that 3rd level spell will be good enough, honestly, for a lot of situations, so I recommend doing that. Once you've taken all 3 levels in fighter, you're going to be 3 levels behind any other full caster in spellcasting. The other big weakness is wisdom saving throws. Wisdom saving throws are not our friend, and we are not going to be good at them. This is going to be super debilitating a lot of the times, so make sure that you are smart about which enemies you're fighting, especially if they have a lot of wisdom saving throw based abilities. As an NPC, I see the Arcane Tank being kind of a bodyguard for an Archmage or a very important magical figure. And I think instead of him being like this brute force bruiser bodyguard like you would imagine in most cases, this would be a magical battle mage bodyguard. He would use his Abjuration abilities to protect him and whoever he's protecting. I think the key note for me for this character is 2 things. First is building a tanky wizard, because I think wizards need a tank option, and I think this is a really great way to do it. The second key note that I see for this character is building a strength-based Gish character for the wizard class. Wizards have blade singers. They are the dex-based Gish. However, this is a strength-based Gish option that is just as viable, and it might not be quite as good in some respects, but it is quite a good build, and I really like it. Tell me what you think of this build in the comments below. If you want to check out our other wizard builds or our other character builds, check out these links above. And before you go, make sure to hit that subscribe button so you'll see all of our videos as they come out every single day, and we'll see you tomorrow.